This is Paul for Redneck Sports. I believe that everybody should win in life, or at least attempt to. The first three maxims of General Robert Neyland's game maxims, I believe apply to everybody. The team that makes the fewest mistakes will win. Play for and make the breaks. When one comes your way, score. If at first the game or the breaks go against you, don't let up. Put on more steam. Welcome to the channel. Now let's discuss some sports. Oh, and if you don't mind, like, subscribe, comment. And I've got a link tree down below that's got my social media. And it has my Patreon if you want to help out. Thank y'all. I'm going to review Blood in the Garden, The Flagrant History of the 1990s New York Knicks by Chris Herring. Let me tell you something. I enjoyed the living daylights out of this book. I always come to y'all. I don't find books and review them if I don't like them, that I don't think that I have picked up books, started reading them and went, nope, not going to do it. This is beyond that. This is one of those books that you not only want to read, it's one of those books that you go, holy cow. Because if you were in the 90s, yeah, you were paying attention to the Knicks because Patrick Ewing. But unless you were a Knicks fan, you were paying attention to the Bulls, the Lakers, because, well, Lakers, the Celtics, because, well, the Celtics. You were paying attention to what Dominique Wilkins was doing, Clyde Drexler was doing, Houston was doing. New York Knicks was an underrated team. What Pat Riley did, what Jeff Van Gundy did, you can't speak highly enough about those two coaches, and you can't speak highly enough about these players. So let me get you a little bit into the story. Now, the Knicks have not won a championship in a long time, but that doesn't mean that at one time they weren't one of the strongest teams, one of the scariest teams that you had to get before them. You had to beat them in the East. And there were a couple of times in the 90s you had to beat them in the finals. Pat Riley built them into a team that, good Lord, that's all I can say is, good Lord. And then they had this coach that I'm not going to even talk about. He wasn't worth anything. But one of his assistants, Jeff Van Gundy, took it over. And he brought it back to what it needed to be. And both those coaches went to the finals. Both those coaches were known for defense. They had to make rules. The defense was so much in line with what the bad boy Pistons were, but they were something else. Charles Oakley, one of Michael Jordan's best friends, Charles Oakley was on this team. And yeah, they had to play each other, and they played each other like they should have. There was no backing down. But Charles Oakley was just a rock for the team. Patrick Ewing, they put everything on that man's back. John Starks, to be perfectly honest with you, before I read this book, yeah, he was an exciting player. At times he blubbed, but man, he gave it his all. Allen Houston, I'm from backwoods Tennessee. What Allen Houston did at the University of Tennessee, whoo! So him ending up at the Knicks caused me to pay attention. You can't talk about all this and not realize that the Knicks in the 90s, I care less about any other time. In the 90s, they made sure that Jordan deserved to have those 6 championships. They really did. If you had a championship in the 90s, they made sure you deserved it. So yeah, this book is worth reading, just learning that history. The next time that you want to just pick up a book learn a little bit of history of the NBA, learn a little bit of history of the 90s when it came to what defined that era. Blood in the Garden is one of those books. I don't know much about Chris Herring. Chris Herring, let's see, senior writer for Sports Illustrated, previously spent 5 years covering NBA for ESPN and 538, and prior to that, spent 7 years in the Wall Street Journal where he covered the New York Knicks. And he lives in Chicago, of all places to end up living in Chicago and writing a book about the Knicks. Let me tell you something. Pick it up. Get a good grounding in what the Knicks could have were. I mean, Patrick Ewing, Charles Oakley, John Starks, Allen Houston, Anthony Mason. All these names. Let me tell you something. You're missing out on some really good basketball. If you don't know who these folks are, you're missing out on some really good names. If you don't read this book, the stories that are in here, you will learn some things that, holy cow. I will say this much. Jeff Van Gundy, even though I'm not a fan of his, he gained my respect some. Okay, this probably painted him a little bit too nicely, but I gained some respect for him from this book. Pat Riley, I lost some respect for in this book. So if you get a chance, pick it up. Blood in the Garden by Chris Herring. This has been Paul, Redneck Sports. Y'all have a good day now. Bye. Thank you for watching this video. I've had some fairly good success with all of my Redneck Sports stuff, and I hope you enjoyed the topic. If you did, like, subscribe, comment, all that rigmarole, and also just let me know what you want to hear about. I'll give a redneck spin to this stuff. Let me tell you, I love sports, so I love people that want to join me in that. This has been Paul with Redneck Sports. Y'all have a good day now. Bye.